We've had 10 o'clock. Morena, good morning and welcome along to the meeting of the Community and Services Committee, 27th of June. I'd like to say a very good morning and a welcome to our General Manager of Community and Services, Ken Bailey, to our councillors, Councillor Max and Esther, Barry, Cody and Lisa. Morena, good morning to you all. Nice to see you. To councillors sitting in the public forum, Mel. Good to see you again. Start of a big day. Here we go.
Just a bunch of groupies, man.
To staff who are here today and to media who might be tuned in, thank you for taking an interest. And to John, our governance advisor. Nice to have you all with us this morning. Right, we'll get started with apologies. No apologies have been received. Are there any leave requests at all? Matthew.
18th to 24th of July.
Okay, so we've got that leave request. So we just need a mover and a seconder on the no apologies and that leave request. Thank you, Cody. Seconder, Lisa. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Carried. Conflicts of interest. Any declarations of conflict of interest in our agenda this morning? No. Thank you. Matters lying on the table. There are no matters lying on the table this morning. We have not received any public forum requests so far as well. Confirmation of the agenda. We need a mover and a seconder that the agenda be confirmed without additional alteration. Esther will move. Seconder. Matt, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. And confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Community and Services Committee on the 16th of May. Thank you, Esther, for sharing that. We need a resolution that the minutes of the 16th of May 24 Community and Services meeting be confirmed as a true and correct record. Mover.
I'll move that. I'll just to show that we've paid absolute attention to it. There's a typo in paragraph 3 of the structure's about wrong, but yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you, Lisa. Seconder. Barry, thank you. Those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Just before we get underway this morning, I just want to make mention of the passing. And normally these moments are reserved for those, rightly or wrong, in all cases thoroughly deserved pioneers and movers and shakers within our communities. And on Monday, one of our larger than life characters, big heart, big smile, big soul, lived here for nearly 30 years. One of our former rubbish truck drivers passed away and was farewelled in Matamata in the North Island. So as this is a community and services committee, I just want to acknowledge the passing of John Hughes. He spent some time recently in hospital having a second knee replacement done. And it's my attempt to bake a cake. Quentin, you should know better. During the replacement of his knee, he used to bring in cakes and biscuits for the nurses. He just generally looked out for people. He had a big smile, as I mentioned, and a big heart. Sorry about that. Should have known better. Yeah, he had a big heart, and a lot of people knew him, and they knew him as this very larger than life character who drove our rubbish trucks for a long period of time. So I know he was farewelled to Matamata on Monday. I just want to make a mention this morning that we've lost a big part of some of the heart of our community with the passing of John Hughes. Thank you. Right, we'll get on to the agenda. And item number 1, which is the new proposed reserves to vest in the Wakatipu. The report's author is Sophie Craig. It's her first meeting. And she's one of our new planners. So welcome in, Sophie. Nice to have you on board. Nice to see you around the table this morning. Straight into it. And also Jenny Galavasi, thank you, Principal Parks Planner. They'll be presenting the report. it's asked of the Community and Services Committee to 1, note the contents of this report, and 2, recommend to council that the vesting of the following reserves be approved. RCL Henley Downs Limited, the Local Purpose Walkway and Services Reserve Lot 78, and the Hayes Creek Development Limited Esplanade Reserve Lots 101, 102. And 3, recommend to council that any reserve improvement contributions are offset against those payable in accordance with the development's contribution policy current at the time of contributions payment. So welcome in. Thank you. Anything you'd like to add to the report at all?
Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much for having me. It's my first meeting that I've attended for the committee, so I'm excited to be here. I think it's been summed up fairly well in terms of what has been said. There's 3 reserves to vest today, so unless anyone had any specific questions about what's happening, or if you would like a bit more of an overview summary of what's in the report, what's been said. Any direction there on that?
Well, I think we'll just leave it to questions maybe from council, unless there is any other specific inquiry you'd like to take or make.
I was just going to say, I'd love to have a wee summary of each one, just for our understanding, a bit more clarity. That'd be great.
Absolutely, no, happy to provide that. So
If that's all right for you.
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, so it's probably easiest if we refer to the pictures in the report, because that is helpful. Take the report as read. So we've got the Hanley's Farm subdivision, which is out towards Jack's Point, and DP2 is a stage of the subdivision that has recently been completed, and Local Purposes Walkway and Services Reserve Lot 78 is to vest, which provides a connection pathway through an area of housing subdivision. So there, in figure 2, just above item 7, you can see that it forms a pathway along Woolshed Creek. So in terms of what's been provided, it's a valuable connection and walkway for that community. It links some different areas of larger reserve and playgrounds. So that's the lot there. And then the second subdivision is Rural Living Subdivision on Alec Robbins Road, which sits just south of Lake Hayes. And it connects in with the Rydesdale Farm and Lake Hayes subdivision that is separated by Lake Hayes Creek, I beg your pardon, Hayes Creek, and the Esplanade Reserve that is being recommended to vest today runs adjacent to the creek itself, and again provides valuable connection, and in terms of the housing developments around there will provide lovely amenity in terms of walking along the creek and connection to the twin rivers trails and existing tracks in the subdivision. So,
Esther.
Thank you, that's someone. Just in case any of the residents of that area are watching, for their understanding in terms of the process of vesting. So vesting is done at developer's cost, and then after a period of time, we start to pay. Is that correct?
yes, so the developers, yes,
Yes, thank you.
essentially, yeah. So parks, we implement a maintenance agreement, so the developer enters into that and is required to maintain the Esplanade Reserve. In this case, this is the one Alec Robbins Road, but it's a typical process, so they're required to maintain it for 3 years, and at the end of the 3-year period, they're required to hand it over in a condition that meets our standards, and then at that point, Parks takes the opportunity to inspect the reserves and ensure they're meeting all their the conditions of their maintenance agreement at that point, and then it's handed over finally to council. Yeah,
Thank you.
Any other questions at all? Yes, Lisa.
Thank you. Yes, the fencing that is required, does that need pest proof, rabbit proof?
It's not required to be pest proof. It's required to be to have visual permeability so you can see through the reserves, but it's not standard to have pest proofing on our fencing.
Is that something we can consider, Jeannie? I'm just in particular probably thinking about the rural one at Lake Hayes and the rabbit issue that we have all around the lake. And my other questions are regarding Lake Hayes as far as, I know we've got a requirement in the district plan that anything that we do around the catchment of Lake Hayes leaves the lake in a better condition than it was prior to any work. And I'm just with the trail there running along Hayes Creek, I presume that drains into the catchment. Is there opportunity through us setting up this as reserve space to actually improve the environment from pest control point of view, any erosion considerations, silt trapping for the lake, water quality? I'm just thinking a little bit broader than the scope we've just got here, but happy if that is to be spoken to outside of this, but wanted to flag it.
I think just in general terms, obviously Lake Hayes and all the work that's happening there at the moment is front of mind for Parks and Council. That's actually discharges out of Lake Hayes, so it's actually not going into Lake Hayes. However, there's the trail formation and this particular Esplanade Reserve does require a geotechnical report because it is quite steep and there is the current land use is not really maintained it, all the willows and things. Without requiring specifics for these particular consents, the trail formation does need to be done to our standards.
Is that a recreational standard or a community?
And under the, no, it'll be recreational.
Recreational, so
standards.
sort of the same track qualities currently around the lake itself.
No, this is a different trail that.
But as far as track quality, sorry, just a comparative as to what the surface is like.
This one is a little unusual in that, if you want to talk to the specifics of that, can I just say with regards to Esplanade Reserves though, like the fact that they're vested in public ownership provides that opportunity to go and do restoration, like the Mill Creek, all of that work that's predominantly happening in Esplanade Reserve. So that's the primary, one of the primary values is the protection of that riparian area, and then that access that can then be provided through that. So I think that's our longer, higher level strategy is acquiring the land first and then doing the remediation and restoration that. But obviously any work happening at the time needs to consider the environmental impacts of the work as well. Do you want to talk to the actual trail itself?
Yeah, so this with the Esplanade Reserve that's being vested at the Alec Robbins Road development, the developer is required to form the trails that connect to the Esplanade Reserve, but there's no condition requiring the formation of the trail within the reserve. When the consent was granted by a commission decision, it was decided that that would be an overreach to require the landowner to form that trail. So the piece of Esplanade Reserve, currently when we did our site visit, it has an informal trail through it as a result of ORC, Otago Regional Council, having prepared the site for the improvements that were being made in Hayes Creek. So they've done a lot of the willow removal, but for the stretch of Esplanade Reserve, lot 101 and lot 102 that's identified with the blue arrows, that piece is a bit more of a work in progress that sort of QLDC in conjunction with ORC has the opportunity to improve. So in terms of the trail formation and the work that can be done, as Jenny said, it's probably more of a potential rather than having been completed by the developer.
And then just at the right-hand edge of lot 102, what happens between here and Lake Hayes Arrow Junction Highway? Is there connectivity to the other side to the lake, or does it just dead end onto the road? What?
No, so the connectivity is provided through the subdivision itself. So other walking easements that won't vest, but in favour of QLDC will connect the end of lot 102 there down to Alec Robbins Road. So it forms a loop not through to Lake Hayes at this stage. The Arrow Junction Highway provides quite a significant challenge because of the volume of traffic and the nature of that road, but it does create a loop back through Alec Robbins Road that would then at the other end of the development on the left-hand end of the page link with the Twin Rivers Trail and then back through to the trails through Bridesdale Farm. You can see there's a sort of a pointed sliver at the end of the left-hand end of lot 101, and that is a culvert crossing over Hayes Creek. So that's sort of how a bit of a loop track is formed there rather than through to the lake.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I suppose it is because my concern, as you just stated there, is that it is a real challenge, the junction of Alec Robbins Road and Lake Hayes Road, and with only a couple of houses down there at the moment, and anywhere that we're providing access way, pedestrian or active transport, and how people are trying to get across to those other recreational areas, and if there's any ability to improve exits out of the Eastern Corridor suburbs to help ease congestion, I think we should be sort of keeping that oversight across all of it. But yeah. Thank you for that explanation, and great to hear that it's draining out of the lake, not into the lake. That's really reassuring.
Can I just talk?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
On that, when that was part of our consideration when it first came to us, I think some of those easements were existing, and there was a proposal by the applicant to move them particularly around the highway, and our position was definitely, they need to remain to ensure that future protection for future works where we can connect things up. So we're always thinking of, we're trying to think as much as possible around that future proofing solutions that might come that aren't part of this consent.
And then through you, Chair, just adding to the inquiry around animal control and pest animal management. We've been obviously in the heart of the season at the moment, so I think over 4 sheets we've tickled up 210 rabbits just in the Lake Hayes West zone of the trail network. And as Jenny pointed out, we don't require fencing per se of the developer, but certainly working more with communities around how we fence, target shoot, and also some of that poisoning that needs to occur to keep the population down.
What would it require for us to need that kind of predator control from a developer?
Speak to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't really answer that part of the question earlier, sorry. Our fencing conditions are typically around permeability and height, so we're not getting a big block fence over reserves and that integration. That is, I think, something that we could consider as part of our climate and biodiversity plan, is actually having a strategy around where pest and predator pest fencing should happen, because of the scale of the problem around the particular area. I think, it being strategic, because the cost of maintaining those fences would be, we'd need to think strategically about where that happened. But I think that is something that, if that was decided, it needed to go in those particular subdivisions, then that's something that could be put on as part of a condition.
And then, excuse me, Chair, just through you, just adding to that, what Jenny, so there's a degree of reasonableness about what a developer invests in that fencing scheme. But what we've also seen, a number of developers actually off their own bat will also put that level of fencing in, particularly around large areas of planting. And then as part of that, what Sophie's outlined over the 3 years, I'll hand it over to us as part of the ongoing maintenance of that side. What we're seeing within the spaces with the urban development growth, it's actually getting quite demanding of some of the control opportunities we have around some of the pest animal. So in areas that we formerly might have been able to do open shoot, we've now built houses, for example, and back in Octobello Reserve. So we're certainly looking at that combination of fencing, limiting where we use the poison for obvious reasons, and also the ability to shoot. And we need to be a bit innovative. I know we've also done some ferritin as well. So, but that's high end cost,
I'd definitely like us to give it some consideration. I just think this is the sort of issues that the more people that are involved in upfront control of it. We've got areas that are increasing population where we can't shoot. Putting out poison around domestic animals is challenging. You're right, a lot of private property owners in the area are doing it, but the more we shrink off their access to territory, we're going to protect our plantings around the lake. And I just think where we can, I'd rather inherit a rabbit-proof fence than one that we then have to rabbit-proof later because it's our only form of defence. So thank you for doing that, but yeah.
Through you, Chair, we're certainly open to looking at it, and I think what you can take that, councillor, is that the team with the planning need to certainly have these conversations. But as we've covered off the standard, the cost and what's expected as a reasonable neighbour, this is currently the standard. We're also really cognizant, as Sophie's pointed out, a lot of these are actually connects, so we do really have what they call a SIP headlands, making sure there's safe spaces for public to pass through as well. So it's not a 6 foot close board, animal proof, keeping the wallaby out sort of still on there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Barry?
Yeah, just a question. Adjacent to lot 6, there's an existing legal road, bite-sized chunk. Does the road go anywhere? Is it an alternative access route to lot 6? Or does it present any challenges?
Through the subdivision for this development, some of the legal roads were stopped and adjusted, and I think that piece is sort of a leftover from that. So on the other side of that is the creek itself. So it is limited, but there is the benefit there that it provides a link between the two Esplanade reserves and where it's located. Yeah, so unfortunately, aside from the connectivity between the two Esplanade reserves, there's no opportunity to drive on it or anything like that.
I was just unsure whether it was a road to nowhere or whether it continued.
Yeah, it's well, I suppose as a result of the development of the land around there, it sort of has become a little bit isolated piece. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Or happy with that? Have to get the vote?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's go. We've been asked that the Community and Services Committee note the contents of this report and recommend to Council that the vesting of the following reserves be approved. RCL, Henley Downs Limited and Hayes Creek Development Limited, the Esplanade Reserve, the local purpose way, and recommend number 3 to Council that any reserve improvement contributions are offset against those payable in accordance with the development's contributions policy currently at the time of contributions payment, subject to. Do we have a mover? Esther, do we have a seconder? Cody, all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, GD. Thank you, Sophie. Right, we'll move on to our second item here and our final item, which is the Chair's report. And as we know, we've brought these to life over the past couple of months in light of a desire from members and committee members to see and hear the work that's being done, those touch points of where jobs are or projects are being completed, maybe all the stages of where they're at. I think we're all aware of the challenging times that our community is in and the challenging time that council face as well and are in the middle of. So the report is to give a bit of an overview of projects that are out there, where they stand, where we're at with them. Ken, I'm not too sure whether you want to say a few words at all.
Thank you, Chair. Just picking up on your points and the request of the committee, we've continued just to provide, I guess, a collage of a number of touch points that the community services and other teams are currently having within the community. That's hence some of the flavour that you've seen in this committee's report. Happy to answer any questions. And obviously we're at the financial year end too, so there's some continued work in progress. And we'll continue to update as and what required of the committee and some of the areas of interest you may be getting feedback from your communities to ensure that the daylight of those and continue to keep you well informed of what's occurring.
Any questions?
I wonder if it's not too much trouble, Ferguson, if we could just maybe just highlight them very briefly for anybody watching. So last meeting we just kind of read through what they are, and then it just means that if anybody's listening and it sparks their interest, they can kind of go back into it. Are you comfortable doing that? Just reading out what the different projects are.
Let's go through
So,
this. Yeah.
yeah, just updates on tracks and trails with Ride Park.
Yeah, we'll start with tracks and trails for those who You might be out there listening. Anybody else? Tracks and trails upgrades are happening across the district. The focus in the Wakatipu is on upgrades to Thompson Street at the connection in Fernhill and Gibson Track. The Thompson Street upgrade was undertaken after councillors shared community concerns about the condition of the track with the parks team, and the improvements were completed in mid-June 24 and included resurfacing, scour repairs and unblocking of culverts. As a part of a network-wide tracks and trails program, the Gibson track will be resurfaced and widened to 2.5 metres. The track upgrade is focused on improving the trail user experience for locals and visitors alike and will be completed in July 2024. Bride Park, the community sports field and rugby posts have been upgraded and installed at Bride Park in Lake Hayes Estate, and we'll be happy about that. The new standard of field means it's available for a range of local community sport and activities. Community sport has already commenced, and the feedback from the community is that they are very grateful and supportive of this new upgrade. Hopkins Street, Luggett Hall, the playground, that was officially opened by His Worship the Mayor back on the 12th of May. I was present at this opening. Great to be mingling with the Luggett community and to see the excitement from all the youngsters who turned up. A number of other members were there as well to take part and to enjoy what this playground's all about in Luggett. The Wakatipu community volunteer groups, we've experienced significant community growth in the number of volunteer agreements across the Wakatipu area in regard to reforestation, planting and restoration of QLDC reserves. The number of agreements in place in 2022 was 13. 2023, the number grew to 24, and QLDC reached a milestone of 40 volunteer agreements in 2024. We've just come to the end of volunteer week too, I think. Sport and recreation update. The QEC, the Queenstown Event Centre, Alpine Aqualand, is having a shutdown 29th of June to 8th of July for its annual maintenance shutdown, with the Wanaka Pool closing the 21st of July through until the 28th. The program of improvements includes concrete works, pool floor cleaning and liner repair and filter cleaning. Mardi Gras, which has become a bit of a regular on the calendar, will be held at the Queenstown Event Centre on the 29th of June. There will be a Matariki celebration in Arrowtown tomorrow, also in Wanaka. I know it's happening as well at the Dinosaur Park to commemorate Matariki. In the Queenstown Lakes District, I understand the national commemorations are in Triple Cone tomorrow as well, with the Prime Minister in attendance. The NZTA NZ Up work program for the Franklin Roundabout was commenced on the Queenstown Event Centre side. Now, in addition to the works on the golf course, Aurora has also commenced work to install a high voltage line at the event centre and out to Coverdale Road in conjunction with these works. The Friday afternoon swimming sensory sessions in Wanaka and Queenstown have been popular with our community, evidenced by the positive feedback from participants and officers. Paitara Aspiring Central continues to be popular with the Upper Clutha community, and participation has been steadily increasing as program development and community groups utilise the facility to its maximum. No surprises there. Build it or create it, and they will come. Libraries update. 2 Te Hautoka funded library projects were completed this year. The Story Walk project, an outdoor literacy experience mounting storybook pages within frames placed along walking paths, was completed on the 10th of May this year and located at Hamleys Farm and the new Luggett playgrounds. Local businesses provided discounted materials, and QLDC Parks, Property and Communications and Engagement teams supported installation. The 1,000 Books Before Schools project has been funded by THT since November 2022 and is ongoing. 486 preschoolers are enrolled in the program this year. The annual library survey results have been received. The community engagement librarians plan to share the survey results with committee members at the 24th September Community and Services Workshop Committee workshop. The new upgrade of the Central Otago and Queenstown Lakes District Libraries website is planned for a launch at the end of June 2024. Community partnerships. The welcoming plan will be workshopped with the Community and Services Committee before being recommended for endorsement by the committee in September. Got a bit of work to do on that today. This is a significant milestone. Connecting with this community sector continues to mature, and staff are currently working on the Newcomers Guide. The aim is to distribute the guide in the first quarter of the new 24-25 financial year. Community engagement on the draft of the creativity, culture and heritage strategy for the QLDC has concluded. The final draft strategy presented at this afternoon's council meeting. The community partnerships team and the community fund panel, which is full council in 2024, have completed the assessment of applications made to the annual community grants round for the community fund 24 to 27. That's before us as councillors later on this afternoon. Volunteer South, the Kiwi Kit Community Trust and QLDC are running an event to connect organisations with potential new volunteers. The event called Find Your Perfect Match is an initiative to connect community members with various organisations for volunteer opportunities. Those events have happened in Queenstown and Wanaka. Yes. And an 8-week winter wellness series in collaboration with Happiness House and the QLDC Libraries Network commences in July, and QLDC is collaborating with the Central Lakes Family Services and Te Whatu Ora South to deliver the Winter Family Day program, which aims to connect new parents within the community commencing in July of this year, not that far away.
Thank you. I didn't mean read all of
I
it,
wasn't
but
too
well
sure-
done.
I wasn't too sure. I wasn't too sure what format you did it in last time, so.
I just kind of highlighted the areas. It's great to hear it though.
News and sport is next.
I was going to say, it's great. You've got a quick voice scorer.
I'll take some guidance on that after the meeting yesterday, and I won't bore you so long. But I mean, it's great to
No, it's
see
good.
it all there, and I understand your point completely. That for those who are tuned in from our community, yes, we have it in front of us to read it. For those who don't have that facility, then if we can repeat it, at least they know what's been going on within our realm and our committee.
And I think if we can do the chair, it speaks to the volume of work that Ken's done and what has gone on. And when I look at some of the pieces that are before us this afternoon, they're the really exciting bits of reading through the culture, the creativity, culture and heritage strategy is a really great piece of work for building our communities in the future. And I know how much hard work's gone into the decisions around the community funding and the event funding in this triennium. So to the staff that are in the room and your teams, Marie, Ken and everyone involved, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Matt.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And I've been known to say some negative things in the past, but this is a positive one, and this is experience I had with item number 3, which is Thompson Street upgrade, but more specifically the Fernhill track. And to any of the staff that work in the Parks and Rec team, I want to say congratulations for this, because this Fernhill track is the only active travel network to connect Fernhill Sunshine Bay to the CBD. It's something I've been sort of campaigning for a long time for, because it's a well-used track. There was no funding for the upgrade of this trail, and it looked like it was going to be 5 years until we were going to get an upgrade to this track. Working with the track's maintenance team has been an absolute pleasure. They have been an example of what the relationship between elected members, the community and council should be. They found money from somewhere, I don't know where. They did work their magic, and they have given us an upgrade to that track that was going to be years in the future. So I want to congratulate the whole team that was involved in that. The communication was absolutely amazing. The engagement with the community was amazing. And that's something that I can be proud of, be part of that piece of work. And that's, I guess, why we become elected members, so we can do some good stuff in the community. So thank you, Ken, and your team.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments?
What praise are you looking for? Yeah, only good comments for this meeting.
Bad with the good, Cody, if you've got that.
Look, I mean, I sort of just share the sentiment of it's really nice to celebrate our success. It's my school motto back in the day, and I never really understood the importance of it. It becomes more and more, I understand it more and more as time goes on, because we're always trying to solve really big problems, and I think to take stock and reflect on what's been done is a really important aspect to celebrate the work people do, to acknowledge all of the stuff that's happening. So I think it's awesome in every detail that you've shared with that beautiful voice of yours. So nice to have you to celebrate it.
Promise to make it shorter next time.
Yeah.
You can read this.
Highlights.
You're right,
I
Cody,
thought-
about celebrating the successes, and we know that there's so much that even is in there, and I think even looking at the other councillors that are in the room, you know, an incredible event attended by a few of us this month. Thank you, Sylvia, for inviting us through Welcoming Communities with our Sikh community out in Arrowtown and participating culturally with them and listening to their desires for a future place that they could base as a temple and things. So even through all our different touch points with your team over the last month, it really gives the sense of heart to what we do. So thank you.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, councillors, for your feedback. We all know that it's been a fiscally, economically really challenging setting over the past. There's some real strategic issues coming at us, but what we've really honed in on is the breadth of what the community services team and other touch points delivers through some of the flavour of this reporting. And if you pick up on this, the focus that you've all brought and working alongside myself and our team, it's been the areas of touch point you've had in the community that you can look at making a difference within that city. And I think what you've got there is a flavour. It's not an endless list by any stretch, but even that small touch point of actually having 40 agreements in place with volunteer groups, that represents hundreds of people and thousands of volunteer hours that are making a substantial difference to a network we just otherwise would not maintain. So, you know, as you've all picked up, we will continue to report back. Yes, there's big strategic brick and mortar stuff that we need to keep this committee informed about, but you've also just been given a flavour of a whole host of good stuff that the team will continue to take forward. And as a group, I can report back to the committee, we have really placed a strong focus on doing the foundations, investing in the renewal budgets, making sure our capital programs are up, and procuring the engagement of market services to get work done. Plus, obviously, delivering on a really dynamic program. It doesn't matter what touch point you have, you can just about be out every night, every day of the weekend if you wanted to connect on with the team. So thank you for the feedback. We'll make sure that's shared.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Happy to get to the resolution, councillors.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I was keen on the sports update.
There is a wee typo on page 65, just Mardi Gras.
Oh, yeah, right.
Not that it really matters to you.
Thank you, Michael.
I was just really-
What school do you go to?
Not a French one. so.
Rightio, the resolution required is that the Community and Services Committee note contents of this report. Do we have a mover? Barry, seconder. Esther, all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Meeting closed at 10:36.